looking at Spotify right now, right? I'm looking at Spotify right now, and I'm looking at okay, we're getting into the AI art age, right? AI and writing's been there for a few years, but
Yeah.
AI and art age, and we're trying to figure it now. I personally think that AI art is going to go down the Napster route.
Mm.
That's what I
Mm.
think it's going to do. Now, that's my opinion. Now,
Now,
that's
now, describe what you mean by saying it goes down the Napster route.
because I think because the question right now, if you use AI art from any of these programs, is they're deriving art from our different artists. So the question then becomes who owns what,
Yeah.
right? So inevitably, if again I'm going by history, right? Inevitably, the courts are going to eventually rule that every artist is going to be entitled to some kind of payment right if any of these pieces are used for profit. This is why, by the way, a lot of animation studios and a lot of other things have avoided using this stuff because they know deep down, like in the long run, they're going to end up paying through the schnoz inevitably. So
Mhm.
if you're a small company trying to use this stuff, be
Mhm.
warned that as of right now, you're good. But a year or two from now, you may
Yeah.
not be so good.
I
So,
actually was just I talked to two representatives from the US Copyright Office the other day.
mhm.
Um, Literally 2 days. Wait, today's last Thursday. Um, and that is one of the things. So it's either are these works derivative, or is it fair use to educate the AI based off of all of these works?
I think they're going, and I think they're going to eventually lean to the former, not the
I
latter.
honestly, even though that's a nightmare logistically, I agree with
Yeah,
that with that direction, and I think it will lean that way.
it's going to lean that way because again it's going to under because if we're talking about the logistic nightmare, what's worse, the that or the latter? If you go with the latter, you just undone every copyright, and that right. So now
It's not undoing, but it is
it,
it
it
yeah,
no
it's
no it takes a significant step of destroying IP protection. It's a big giant shot, and at that point you've pretty much Disney goes into a new business at that point. That's just the way. Right. That's just the way it is. IP
Mhm.
is the most lucrative business in the world,
Right.
honestly. Right. So, I like they. Don't, I'm not sure they want to touch that. So this is how I. That's why I'm leaning it towards that. So then the question then becomes: this is the thing. If artists are smart, if artists are smart, they do a better deal than what musicians got with Spotify because there's an
Mhm.
opportunity now to make a stand on that, set a precedent. And if you
Mhm.
set that precedent now, before these companies come in, you'll actually get a decent wage because the big problem and the big thing is eventually, whether we want to acknowledge this or not, radio is going to go away. And not everybody has Taylor Swift's money,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? To go to Spotify and say, pay me fuckers or I'm suing.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So this is kind of where like this is where artists need to actually and even writers to some degree have to look at this long term. You want to protect those things now because if you do it, if you set the precedent now, right? There's and the percentages is quote unquote reasonable. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because this is Anita Stewart. Adobe's starting up with a beta AI, but I think it may have the right idea. But that's the thing is it's smart for two reasons. The real the reason I'm saying this, Anita, is they're setting their own precedent now. Because again, that's up in the air as we speak, right? If
Mhm.
companies do it first, companies will get the most benefit. If artists do it first, artists will get the most benefit. It's
Mhm.
he who gets to the table first. And that's why Adobe's a genius doing it this way.
Interesting.
Do you agree with that perspective?
Super interesting. Yes. Well, Adobe, especially with its stock, like it
Yeah.
already has agreements with the suppliers of the stock art, and it's already in the
Yeah.
system. So it makes a lot of sense for Adobe to step out in front of it.
Yeah, no.
Whereas, yeah,
Yeah.
like a lot of other ones who don't have that, they just kind of go on Google Images or whatever and just scan all of them.
Yeah.
Um, It doesn't make sense.
No, like I said, there's an opportunity both sides of the equation, because if you set the table at the beginning, it's going to be your table. This is the important thing. I'm stating this right now. He who sets the table creates the table. Right?
Yep.
And that if there's one thing to learn from Spotify, that's the lesson. The reason why Spotify is able to charge what they charge to musicians is because they got there first. That's it. That is the only reason they got there. If someone else had come there first, someone else would have set that table.
My understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is it's a little more complicated than that. Ultimately, what you're saying is true. Like Spotify was the loudest person in the room and strong-armed a whole bunch of people, including major labels and in things. They continue to do that. But I would say the loudest person who sets the table, the one that's